Hello readers, I'm Amy and I'm your nonfiction feminist. Here today with a review for 3 Women. So I haven't quite figured out a structure for my nonfiction book reviews like I have for my fiction, and that's probably just because nonfiction itself is an umbrella genre. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and break it down into characters, plot, and writing. Thanks for that, dude. So let's go ahead. The camera's right next to the rocking chair. He jumped onto the rocking chair, but we're okay. Nothing's broken. Alright, anyways, 3 Women by Lisa Taddeo. I've been recommended this by a couple of people, especially Rachel Ray over at Rachel Ray Reads. And I loved it. I'm having some trouble with my words this morning, apparently. So we have this book broken down into 3 characters, 3 people, because it's nonfiction. And that is Maggie, Lena, and Sloane. We see more of Maggie than the other 2. We also get a lot of Lena. Sloane has the least amount of page time, but no one's story is any less powerful for that. So Maggie, back in high school, I think she was 17, had a relationship with a high school teacher. And at the point that the book picks up, we're going through the court process with her as she files suit against her teacher. They're looking at 5 different counts. I don't remember what they all were. I think it was for like individual sexual acts. Then Lena is in a sexless marriage. She has a couple of kids with this guy, and she's dreaming about just being kissed. She just wants to have a passionate French kiss, and her husband can't give her that. He can't seem to give her anything. They're not very sexually compatible, like, at all. And Sloane is married to a chef. They have a restaurant together, and they are swingers. And each of these stories, while they feel really different from one another, they also seem to revolve around some of the same ideas, where these women are chasing after their sexuality. They're trying to find themselves and be happy in their sexual encounters and in their pleasure seeking, but the men are still in control somehow. And like, it's really hard to explain this book. You may relate to some of the characters more than others. There is one particular person that I felt I really related to in this book. I'm not going to say who for privacy reasons. But basically, I loved this. I have no words. I think this is a really great book if you're looking for a nonfiction that is easier to get into, that is more fiction-like in its writing. The writing will definitely not be for everyone. I have had one person, I think it was Joshana from Joshana C., say that she tried the audiobook and it wasn't working out for her, so she's going to try the physical. In reading through the book, I do think that reading the physical copy will be easier than the audio, just to get a sense of the writing and to get used to the writing. The writing at the beginning goes between second person and third person. Most of the book is written in third person. I don't know why I set the book down, because there's parts that I'm gonna read. So the second person, which isn't something I think I've ever had the opportunity to read before, I'll go ahead and read off the first 2 paragraphs here so you kind of have an idea of what the second person sounds like. And this is the very first chapter on Maggie. You get ready that morning like someone preparing for war. Your war paint is makeup. A neutral smoky eye, a heavy lash, dark rose blush, and a nude lip. Your hair is loosely curled and huge. You learned how to do hair and makeup by yourself in front of mirrors, with Linkin Park and Led Zeppelin in the background. You are one of those girls who innately understand contouring and accessorizing, who plant bobby pins to good and buried use. Second person is very much the you do this, you do that. An example of the third person. So, like, I think we've all read third person where they use pronouns like he, she, they instead of I. But this one is a little different. It doesn't have dialogue in it. Like, it'll tell you that someone said something, but it won't have quotations around it. It'll just tell you that they said it. So, kind of an example of this part. Seeing his car already there, hearing the birds and the branches and the crunch of twigs underfoot, smelling the wet earth and the exhaust and getting lost in a hologram of mist, tucking her hair behind her ears the way she had practiced in front of the mirror, the precise way she looked the prettiest, all these sounds, smells, routines. It was her foreplay. And there in his car, staring straight ahead into the trees, and ringed by a halo of his own smoke, was this mythological man who was going to be hers, who was right at this moment waiting for her, so that the very entirety of her was being validated. He was the whole point of her existence, her mother and her sisters and the posterior side of her father be damned. There he was. So, the writing definitely took me a while to get used to. If you aren't sure on how you're going to do with this book, definitely get it from the library, which I think most libraries have a pretty long hold right now, but try it from the library first. And like I said, I would definitely recommend the physical book or the ebook rather than the audiobook, just so you can read the words on the page for yourself and get a better idea of how the author speaks. It did take me probably 50 or 60 pages, and this book has just over 300. So 50 or 60 pages into it, I was really starting to get used to the writing. When I first started reading it, I'm like, I really don't know if I like this. Like, I could tell that Lisa Taddeo was a talented writer, but I just wasn't sure yet if the writing was for me. But as I read on in the book and as I got more used to it, I really came to love it. I feel like I've read this style of third person before and I wasn't into it. In the beginning of a book that I started, I only got like 15 pages into it. Like I said, I don't think I've read second person before. I think that these styles of writing are probably really hard to pull off. But that said, I think Lisa Taddeo did an amazing job. Three Women is on the Goodreads list for best nonfiction for this year. I did vote for it, even though I don't know that I read any of the other nonfiction. But I loved this enough that I think it's deserving of it. So just give it a try. Give yourself at least, I'd say, 30 pages before you put it down, just to give the writing kind of a chance to sink in and you can get a real sense of whether or not you're really going to enjoy it. Because like I said, I do think this could be done really, really poorly. That's kind of it for me. I'm gonna make this a short review. Like, I feel like I needed to sit down and really discuss this book on its own, but also I don't know that I have that much to say because I'm still really processing the story and what it's about. This is definitely a book that I think I'm going to be rereading every year. I think the more times I reread it, the more I'll really come to have a sense of understanding of the book. I'm still looking up a bunch of reviews and articles on it, so I can have a better sense of what all the author's trying to say, because I know that this is a book with a lot of layers and I probably missed out on half of them. But it was awesome. Something to note with the court case for Maggie. Most of the story does tell her side of it, and then later on, as they're like talking to the judge and making their decisions and stuff on the case, it does, of course, go through his side of the story as well. So I was mostly cheering Maggie on in this book, but at the same time, again, you've got two other stories that you're really focusing on. It's not just Maggie's story. And with the way that it's told, it doesn't feel like you really have to pick a side on the court case. It's more about making sure that the story is told, which is a really interesting way of writing it. And yeah, that's what I've got for you. I gave this book 5 stars. Like I said, I'm still processing it. I'm still looking up things for it, but I wanted to take a minute to just focus on talking about this book. So, for more content from me in the future, please like, subscribe, be my bestest friend on social media. I post every Wednesday, Thursday, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, friends.